Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. The DNC, did you watch it last night? Oh, it was long. Very, very long. And they kept our old man, our old president, out until 11:30 Eastern time before he even started his speech. But guess what? He overperformed, and I've shrunk it down from that 52-minute speech into an 11-minute speech that I think listening to it in an 11-minute fashion actually sounds better than it all stretched out, because you really get to see the substance of the speech the way I did it. So I'm going to play that for you guys later on. I think it's about 11 minutes long, and it's a beauty. Well, in my humble opinion, after I edited it to kind of make it shine, if you will. So I'm going to do that a little bit empty later on. Terry, empty page, not sure, I bought. All right, folks, anyhow, welcome aboard. Michael Rudnin, welcome aboard. Lee Grant, welcome aboard. Terry Hufseltler. Oh, you think this is crap, huh? Well, what can I say? To each his own. Welcome aboard AVQ from from Brooklyn, New York. Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Lee Grant from Montgomery County. And where are you from, Terry Hofstetler? I'm curious, where are you from? And let us know. Join the family. You know, we enjoy having everybody out here. Anyway, we're going to have a good one. Let me just say, before I even get started, there was one very, very touching piece on that that really gave you the essence of who Biden really is. And I tell you, I did get teary eyes on it, because I tell you what, I have a daughter, and those are the same kinds of things that I would do with my daughter if I were a politician. Well, I've done similar stuff with my daughter as she's gotten ill with a stroke a few times. But I tell you what, this was touching. I want you guys to listen to this little. This one is only about a minute and a half, or a little bit over a minute and a half. I want you to listen to this, because when we're talking about the quality of persons that we're talking about, this is what I mean. This Try to think about Trump doing something like this. It's not in his psyche, it's not in his makeup. This is just an evil man. Hey, Norman Reynolds, I haven't seen you in a long time, my dear brother El Senor Reynolds. Great to see you here, brother. From Katy, Texas, or I think it's still Houston, Texas, but near Katy, Texas, as well as Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia, who just joined us. But I want you to listen to Biden's daughter here, because this is touching, and it shows you the kind of guy he is.
Please welcome first daughter, Ashley Biden.
Good evening. I have this memory. It's the eve of my 8th birthday. Dad is still in D.C., tending to urgent matters in the Senate. That night, as a surprise, Mom told me, Bo, and Hunter to get in the car. I remember pulling up to the Wilmington Amtrak station, riding up the escalator to the platform. The train stops, doors open, and Dad steps out. As soon as I saw him, I run down that platform and jump into his arms. Like magic, Mom brought out a cake, they sang happy birthday, and I blew out the candles. Dad hugged me, and he said that he had to get back to work. He crossed to the southbound train, and off he went to DC. That was a snapshot of one moment, of one day, on this extraordinary journey of being Joe Biden's daughter.
Let me tell you something. If people can't see the humanity in that, that alone tells you who the man is. Look, I have problems with Biden on a political level, on a policy level. But what that tells me is that is the character. That is the character of the guy we're talking about. Try to see if somehow you feel you could put a facade of that nature onto Donald Trump. Not a chance. Not a chance. So when we're talking about empathy, when we're talking about humanity, that's the kind of person we're talking about. That story, you cannot take away the realness out of that story. I'm glad that your nephew actually knew Biden. But when I saw, I teared up when I listened to that story because it brought back all the memories as to what daddies do for daughters, right? What daddies do for their kids. A lot of times they try to make daddies into, these hard asses that have no feelings. That was, and the fact that it left that indelible impression on Ashley Biden says something. And I know from having my own daughter that it is great to be a good father in that regards. Lee Grant, protests, there was this same kind of protest at the Republican convention. I don't, again, if I were in Chicago, I would probably be at a couple of those protests to show my solidarity as well. That has nothing to do with me giving my full support to Kamala Harris and making sure that the progressives, the more progressive person wins. And again, there's a lot of joy on the street in Chicago. Now, think about when we talk about Republican convention, there was a brother that went into one of the Republican hotels. They beat him, and you know what happened, right? They beat him to near death. So, what can I say? Anyhow, that is what I call a real dad. A real dad. There was another empathetic moment that touched me, and it also had to do this time. That first one was with Biden, showing that he's an empathetic guy. The other one had to do with Kamala Harris, and this one is with Jasmine Crocket, Representative Jasmine Crocket, and her early days as a first-time congressperson in DC. I want you to listen to this one.
Many of you know her credentials, but what I love about Kamala Harris goes beyond her resume. Is that she sees the humanity in everyone. She's the only candidate in this race who is capable of empathy. When I first got to Congress, I wasn't sure I made the right decision. The caucus couldn't elect a speaker, and the oversight committee was unhinged. I was going through all of this when I visited the vice president's residence for the first time. As I approached Vice President Harris for our official photo, she turned to me and asked, "What's wrong?" Mind you, we'd never met, but she saw right through me. She saw the distress. I immediately began crying, and the most powerful woman in the world wiped my tears and listened. It's so hard for me to tell this story. She then said, among other things, "You are exactly where God wants you. Your district chose you because they believe in you, and so do I." I'm gonna stop. Okay. The next month, I went viral for the first of many times to come for hitting Republicans with a dose of their own medicine. That brief but impactful interaction gave me my legislative legs, and I've been running ever since. The question before us is, will a vindictive, vile villain violate voters' vision for a better America or not? I hear alliterations are back in style. We deserve better. We deserve a president who can be a bright light in a sea of darkness. One who will pull us forward, because we won't go back. Amanda Gorman said it best. There's always light if only we are brave enough to see it. If only we are brave enough to be it. Kamala Harris showed me that light. And America, when she is our president, together we will shine as that beacon of hope and freedom around the world once more. God bless y'all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I saw that, again, think about it. When somebody can, and I've had friends that have done that with me. I've done that with friends where, you know, y- somebody knows that they can look at you. They've known you for so long, and they look at you and they say, yeah, there is something wrong. What exactly is wrong? I've had friends that I've sat down and said that, yeah, I can see that there's something wrong. Come on, open up, start talking. But it requires empathy. It requires a person who understands humanity. Unfortunately, you know, Donald Trump doesn't fit that profile. All right, Michael Rudden says the themes of democracy versus authoritarianism, prosecutor versus felon, joy versus revenge. It was great, wasn't it? Melanie Keelan just joined the fray. Welcome from Barcelona, Spain, my dear Melanie Keelan, as well. Eric Hayes is in the house, and Carl Cox. Carl Cox says, I'm no fan of Biden. However, he has love for his family. Trump loves no one but himself. When I see somebody who has love for their family, the way I see with Biden, the way I see with Kamala Harris and her adopted daughters, there's that relationship that you can see between uh, uh, Kamala Harris and not adopted daughters, but her stepdaughters. I mean, just a wonderful thing to see family love, completely anathema to what Donald Trump represents. It's amazing, isn't it? Now, what you're going to find over the next few weeks is you are going to find that all over social media and in your mailboxes, the evil machine coming from the right will be sending distortion, lies, and they're going to try to pull folks down. Let me explain what that is all about. All those things that you're going to see about Kamala Harris, it's not about trying to get people to vote for Trump. It's about trying to get people to believe negative things about people, to get disillusioned and not show up to vote because you think the person is, you know what I am doing with my media and what I'm doing both on air, online, and otherwise is to educate people on how these hateful machines work and their real intent. Because if you notice how effective they are with our right wing MAGA folks, that's our MAGA brothers and sisters in the chat. For most of it, I will completely glance at it and ignore it. And why will I do that? Because we all know it is junk, crap, and we all know that they're desperate. And we hope that in coming and sticking around with us, that at some point in time, some degree of intellect will rub off to allow their minds to start working again in the reality realm. I'm hoping. I'm forever positive. I'm forever not hopeful, but encouraged that there are many out there that are changing. You just have to look at the change in the poll numbers. And I don't look at the poll specific numbers, but I look at the overall trends. Let's see what Bridge MCP posted there. Let me see what she posted. Oh, Bridge, why did you answer that one? That one didn't need answering because there are two things people have to learn about the DNC. It starts out, look, I've been a delegate at the DNC many years. It starts out in the beginning where only the standing committees go on the floor and meet and we vote on issues and all that kind of stuff. And then people start to come in later on. But also, it's all by invitation. It's all by invitation. So there are X amount of chairs, X amount of it's a long story, and it also goes with security. I participated in the one in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the one in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders, so I know how this stuff works. Most of the MAGA folks in here ain't got a clue. But anyhow, so that is one that needed disregarding, my friend. That one needed disregarding. Anyhow, so what I'm saying, I am not going to give legs unless the the comment within our space have the potential for movement. Not going to give it legs. The attacks on Harris has already started in the battleground states. It is evident that Donald Trump currently has some money issues, and some of their deep pockets from their third party groups are the ones doing all the work right now. Not the campaign from not the Trump campaign, but the external groups of haters that are really, really running scared. But it doesn't matter because Kamala Harris has found the numbers. They have found the niche. And this niche is heading for a landslide. I want you to listen to why. When you have blue collar guys that are starting to get their pew, because remember, a lot of the union workers, even though the union supports Kamala, a lot of these guys have fallen for the MAGA thing, even though MAGA doesn't, the MAGA principles don't support unions. In other words, Trump and all these guys hate unions. Finally, that is starting to sink in as well. I want you to listen to the UAW president, Shawn Fain. I cut a few pieces from him as well that is worth listening to, that I want you guys to hear right this minute. So let's go for a minute here and let me get to Shawn Fain, and then you'll see it. Lee Grant, shout out to PDR Posse, keep free speech alive. Now that's what I tell you about Lee Grant. Lee Grant is here. Lee Grant loves it here. He plays MAGA, but he really loves it here. Let's go ahead and thank you very much, Lee. I appreciate your super chat. And he says, shout out to PDR Posse, keep free speech alive and make America great. America, we are trying to make it great. I'm glad that you said make America great and not make America great again. You're a smart man. All right, let's go ahead and play that video from Shawn Fain.
On behalf of 1 million active and retired members of the UAW, I am honored to support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to be our next president and vice president. And I want to say thank you to Joe Biden for making history by walking the picket line with the UAW. For the UAW and for working class people everywhere, this election comes down to one question. Which side are you on? On one side, we have Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who have stood shoulder to shoulder with the working class. On the other side, we have Trump and Vance, two lapdogs for the billionaire class who only serve themselves. So for us in the labor movement, it's real simple. Kamala Harris is one of us. She's a fighter for the working class. And Donald Trump is a scam. Just my opinion. That's a fact. All we have to do is look at the track record. When Donald Trump was president, corporate America ran wild. Donald Trump did not bring back the auto industry. When Donald Trump was president, auto plants closed. Trump did nothing. Trump told workers in Lordstown, Ohio, that he would be bringing all the auto jobs back. And Trump did nothing. thing. In 2019, General Motor workers went on strike for 40 days for good jobs and a better life. And Trump did nothing. Talk is cheap. But in 2019, you know who was on the picket line standing shoulder to shoulder with auto workers? I'll give you a clue. Initials are Kamala Harris. In 2023, who helped bring jobs back to Lordstown, Ohio? Kamala Harris. And in 2024, we'll stand with the working class in our fight for justice. Kamala Harris. And that's the difference. Donald Trump is all talk, and Kamala Harris walks the walk. Our only hope is to attack corporate greed head on. Corporate greed turns blue-collar blood, sweat, and tears into Wall Street stock buybacks and CEO jackpots. It causes inflation. It hurts workers. It hurts consumers, and it hurts America. And corporate greed is alive and well in the auto industry. You know, last fall, we achieved life-changing gains in our strike at the Big Three. We even won a commitment to reopen a closed plant not too far from here. We were able to do that thanks to the support of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the thousands of auto workers that went on strike. But a year later, one company wants to go back on their commitments in our contract. And let me be clear, Stellantis must keep the promises they made to America in our union contract. And the UAW will take whatever action necessary at Stellantis or any other corporation to stand up and hold corporate America accountable. And when the UAW stands up, we know who stands with us and who stands against us. Donald Trump laughs about firing workers who go on strike. And Kamala Harris stands shoulder to shoulder with workers when they're on strike. Trump is pushing divide and conquer tactics of the rich. It's the oldest trick in the book. They want to blame the frustrations of working class people. They want to take those frustrations, they want to blame it on race. They want to blame it on LGBTQ plus people. They want to blame it on some destitute and desperate person at the border. They do that because they want working class people to be divided and to focus and keep the focus off the one true enemy, corporate greed. The rich think we're stupid, but working class Americans see this for what it is. This is our generation's defining moment. So I have a question for you. Are you ready to stand up, speak up, and show up and put Harris and Tim Walz in the White House? The next president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely. Join, my brothers and sisters. Join, join, join. All right. Let's see what else we got in here now. Let's see what else we got in here. I know how to... I hear you, Bridge. I hear you, Bridge. Michael Radin says, Egberto, those attacks, they've got nothing. And I know, and people are starting to get inoculated from these things. And for those that are just starting, we have to teach them how to inoculate themselves from it. All right, let's see. Yoo-hoo! Lee Grant from Bridge MCP, thanking him for that super chat that he gave us today. Thank you, Brother Lee. Michael Cisak says, Frank Luntz tells CNN voters in his focus groups have real concerns. Harris is extreme. Of course. Every single Democrat is extreme. That's how they frame it. But what I love about Kamala, which is what she's starting to do, everybody, why isn't she giving an interview? Why don't she give a policy interview? She don't need to. Go out there and talk directly to the American people and tell them what you are going to do for them. Tell them what you are going to do for them. Don't filter it through the media. Well, if the media wants to ask you a question when you're talking to the people, answer them. But all the policies that Kamala says she wants, guess who wants them? The middle class. That's who wants them. I had a piece that I did this morning at KPFT that I just thought about, and oh my God, I forgot to burn it. But I'll probably cut it after this program and then go ahead and play it later on. There's so many darn videos that I've been doing. I got each one of those speeches cut, but I'm only highlighting a few because again, everybody can go online and see them. There are certain ones that I wanted to cut a special way, which is what I did. All right, let's see what else we got here. What else we got? Carl Cox says, wrong as usual, Mike Cisak, but we love you anyway, Mike. You know, you're generally wrong, but we still love you. First ever DNC panel on Palestinian rights. We need to restore the soul of the Democratic Party. Agree, agree. And I think that should start making a difference. Michael Radden says, always glad to see unions speaking on the issues that matter, showing that it's the workers that make America great. You nailed it. Let me get the numbers in from E2247 today. I don't think I saw them yesterday, E2247. Today, day 319 of the war in Israel, in Gaza, 40,173 Gazans killed, 276 persons more than day 311. At least 92,857 wounded, 705 persons more than day 311, equal 133,030 casualties. 133,030 casualties equal 417 per day of estimated 2,300 million people. That's about 5% of the population, which in equivalency to the United States would be, and you normally print that number for me, but I don't see it today. Either that or I am missing that right now, but you normally have all these numbers ready for me, E2247. All right, let's continue. Bruce Pollard says 10 characteristics of charismatic leadership. She's got them all. I know. Hey, Bruce, the piece that you sent me to play, I forgot to download the clip so that I could play it, and I'm not getting, so forgive me. I'll try to get it on tomorrow. Anyway, Yvette Avery Howard says, Union, yes, Fain is on fire. I love the guy. I tried to get an interview with him when he came to Netroots. I couldn't. He said he wasn't doing any interview. So he came in, gave his speech, and took off. So I couldn't, I didn't get a chance to speak to him. Breed says, I like not only every night has a theme, but every night they pick another part of Project 2025. Yep, they do. Let's see. This is comparing and contrasting U.S. to Gaza, not to Palestine, as I have done in the past. Yes, right. Oh, okay. I didn't see it then. Anyway, I got you, brother. Get it next time. Yvette, he was awesome. Loved when he took off the jacket. Yes, he said, I'm going to have a Nelly moment. It's getting hot in here. That was cool, wasn't it? Norman Reynolds says, thank E2247 puts a lie to the both side comment Biden made last night. It was the only thing that rubbed me wrong. Yeah, it rubbed everybody wrong. It rubbed us all wrong, Norman. You nailed it. But you know, Biden is not the guy anymore. Right now it's Kamala, and see how she handles it. All right, fun fact coming from the one and only Breach MCP. Let's see. I need to get that up. Oh, there we go. Did you know, fun fact, did you know Donald Trump donated $6,000 to Kamala Harris's campaign in 2011 and 2013, and his daughter Ivanka gave Harris $2,000 in 2014. Then Kamala refused to spend Trump's money and instead donated it to a nonprofit that helps Hispanics and immigrants. Ha! 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 That is funny, isn't it? That is damn funny. I love that one. All right. Yeah, I fixed the audio. Good one, Breach. All right. Now it's the time for us to listen to, before we end it with Biden, I want you guys to listen to Jamie Raskin. I love Jamie. Jamie's intellect is second to none. I'm talking about his political and legal acumen. Second to none. Check out Lee Raskin, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Welcome to the Democracy Convention. Welcome to the Freedom Convention. And thank you for the beautiful weather, Chicago. It's been a little rough on Capitol Hill, where it's not just the heat, it's the stupidity. Now, we meet in this great city tonight where Abraham Lincoln was nominated in 1860 to save the Union from fanatical insurrectionists, and where Franklin D. Roosevelt was renominated by Democrats in 1940 to defeat fascist dictators. Now we fight in our time to defend our freedom and our democracy against the banana Republicans who have converted Lincoln's party into a dangerous cult of personality. You know, I'll never forget the pounding on the doors of the House chamber on January 6th. Or the screams to follow. Hundreds of our police officers taunted and attacked. 140 of them wounded by extremists wielding baseball bats, steel pipes, even American flags. 5 people died that day, and 4 more of our officers took their own lives in the days and weeks to come. All of this after Trump was defeated by more than 7 million votes by the great Joe Biden. It was after 80 judges rejected every ridiculous claim raised by this sore loser who does not know how to take no for an answer from American voters, American courts, or American women. Remember what the mob chanted? Should have told Donald Trump that the president's job under Article 2 of the Constitution is to take care that the laws are faithfully executed, not that the vice president is executed. Pence has now joined more than 24 officials from Donald Trump's own administration in denouncing him, an historical record. And Pence is the first vice president in more than 2 centuries not to support the president he served with in a general election. And by the way, J.D. Vance, do you understand why there was a sudden job opening for running mate on the GOP ticket? They tried to kill your predecessor. They tried to kill him because he would not follow Trump's plan to destroy and nullify the votes of millions of Americans. Your votes, Pennsylvania. Your votes, Michigan. Your votes, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona. Are we going to go back to the days of election suppression and violent insurrection? We're not going back. Well, look, 1 week after that beautiful day, as Trump calls it, the Republicans, 10 Republicans, joined all of the Democrats to impeach Trump for the worst high crime and misdemeanor ever committed by a president, inciting insurrection against our own Constitution. Make no mistake, a man who uses fraud, theft, and violence to take power will commit any crime to keep it. And now Trump's promising to pardon hundreds of his fellow criminal convicts and insurrectionists. He calls for, quote, the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those in the Constitution. My friends, are we the people going to let Donald Trump terminate our Constitution and obliterate the blessings of liberty for our posterity? That's right. We're going to elect Kamala Harris. We're going to elect the career prosecutor and inspiring public servant and Coach Walz. And we're going to defeat Donald Trump, the career criminal. And incorrigible recidivist con man and his pet chameleon, J.D. Vance. And America, let's make it a landslide so big that Donald Trump and his kangaroo Supreme Court justices cannot even try to steal it. Let's make every vote count. Let's make sure every vote is counted. Let's let freedom ring, and let's let democracy work in America.
Was that great or what? I saw that. I'm like, damn, Jamie. That is what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Jamie, historical comparison was deep, says Norman Reynolds, which is actually so good. That is so good. All right, let's see. Bree says the right is running scared instead of paying attention. Like, think. And again, you know what? Like I said in, I think I said it 2 days ago. The biggest fear of the biggest fear of the right is an educated person, right? Because then they don't stand for the crap, the abuse that constantly they've been under the attack of. Anyhow, welcome aboard Paul Fleming. Paul Fleming says, don't forget that Trump stacked the courts and the NLRB with anti-union hacks, defended anti-union right to work laws, stopped 8.2 million workers from receiving extra overtime pay, slashed workplace safety inspectors to the lowest level in OSHA's history. Trump is a scab. Not only that, remember, he comes out and he says, I want to make sure that tip workers don't pay taxes. Of course, they already don't pay income taxes because they usually don't make enough to cross the threshold. But of course, the ones that could benefit from that are the hedge funds manager. But what he doesn't tell people is that he passed an executive order that allow your boss, if people pay their tips on the credit card, your boss doesn't have to pay you the tips that you earned. Think about it. The boss can say, that tip belongs to me. It doesn't belong to you. That was an executive order by Donald Trump. And then he wants to say support. And for those of you who support Donald Trump, I mean, how do you not look at that and say, oh, that's kind of naughty. That's kind of sad. Isn't it? I think it is. What you all think? Come on, let me know. Don't you think that is sad? Don't you think that is disingenuous? After you come out and say, oh, I want to give the tip workers no taxes. But anyhow, let's go ahead and look. Why don't we? Look, check it out. Lee Grant wants to make it retro. The $25,000 that for starter homes retroactive. Number one, most of the people that bought those houses weren't in this inflationary period or this artificial home inflationary period. But even so, then I would suggest that Black Americans ask for their reparations and you not object about it. Are you for reparations as well, my brother Lee Grant? Should I go back to Panama and ask the folks who took advantage of me in Panama for reparations? After all, work for free. Be careful what you ask for. When we start to when we start to extrapolate on what you're stating, things get kind of interesting. All right, it's time for me to play Brother Biden. And I think I want you guys to rate it for me. But I think by putting it the way I did it, turning 52 minutes into 11 minutes, it took a hell of a long time. I think I got the entire gist of the Biden speech in under 12 minutes. What do you guys think? I want you guys to rate it for me. All right? And don't worry if you want to rate it and say, Berta, that was terrible. Okay? Let's go ahead and talk about it.
Let me ask you, are you ready to vote for freedom? Are you ready to vote for democracy and for America? Let me ask you, are you ready to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz?
My fellow Democrats, my fellow Americans, nearly 4 years ago, in winter, on the steps of the Capitol, on a cold January day, I raised my right hand and I swore an oath to you and to God to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and to faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States. In front of me was the city surrounded by the National Guard. Behind me, a Capitol that's 2 weeks before had been overrun by a violent mob. But I knew then, from the bottom of my heart, that I knew now, there is no place in America for political violence. None. Cannot say you love your country only when you win. In that moment, I wasn't looking to the past. I was looking to the future. I spoke of the work at hand, the moment we had to meet. It was, as I told you then, a winter of peril and possibility. Of peril and possibility. We're in the grip of a once-in-a-century pandemic, historic joblessness, a call for racial justice long overdue, clear and present threats to our very democracy. Yet I believed then, and I believe now, that progress was and is possible. Justice is achievable, and our best days are not behind us, they're before us. The winter is past. With a grateful heart, I stand before you now on this August night to report that democracy has prevailed. Democracy has delivered. And now democracy must be preserved. You've heard me say it before. We're facing an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine the fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. That's not hyperbole. I mean it literally. We're in a battle for the very soul of America. I ran for president in 2020 because of what I saw in Charlottesville in August of 2017. Extremists coming out of the woods, carrying torches, their veins bulging from their necks, carrying Nazi swastikas, and chanting the same exact anti-Semitic bile that was heard in Germany in the early 30s. They're Nazis, white supremacists, the Ku Klux Klan, so emboldened by a president then in the White House that they saw as an ally. They didn't even bother to wear their hoods. Hate was on the march in America. Old ghosts and new garments, stirring up the oldest divisions, stoking the oldest fears, giving oxygen to the oldest forces that they long sought to tear apart America. In the process, a young woman was killed. When the president was asked what he thought had happened, Donald Trump said, and I quote, "There are very fine people on both sides. My God." That's when I realized, had listened to the admonition of my dead son, I could not stay in the sidelines. So I ran. Because of all of you in this room and others, we came together in 2020 to save democracy. We've had one of the most extraordinary 4 years of progress ever, period. When I say we, I mean Kamala and me. COVID no longer controls our lives. We've gone from economic crisis to the strongest economy in the entire world. Record 16 million new jobs. Record small business growth. Record high stock market. Record high 401ks. Wages up and inflation down, way down, and continuing to go down. The smallest racial wealth gap in 20 years. We both know we have more to do, but we're moving in the right direction. More Americans have peace of mind that comes from having health insurance. More Americans have health insurance today than ever before in American history. We finally beat Big Pharma. And guess who cast the tie-breaking vote? Vice President, soon-to-be President Kamala Harris. And now it's the law of the land. Instead of paying $400 a month for insulin, seniors with diabetes will pay $35 a month. It saved $160 billion over the next decade. How can we have the strongest economy in the world without the best infrastructure in the world? Donald Trump promised Infrastructure Week every week for 4 years, and he never built a damn thing. And now, because of what Kamala and I have done, remember we were told we couldn't get it done. Remember when we came into office, we couldn't get anything passed. But right now, we're giving America an infrastructure decade, not week. Our roads, our bridges, our ports, our trains, our buses, removing every lead pipe from schools and homes so every child can drink clean water, providing affordable high-speed internet for every American, no matter where they live, not unlike what Roosevelt did with electricity. and so much more. After years of importing 90% of our semiconductor chips from abroad, which America invented those chips. Our Chips and Science Act, the private companies from around the world are now investing literally tens of billions of dollars to build new chip factories right here in America. American manufacturing is back. Where the hell to say we wouldn't lead the world in manufacturing? 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. Our Republican friends and others made sure they'd go abroad to get the cheapest labor. We used to import products and export jobs. Now we export American products and create American jobs. The Wall Street didn't build America. The middle class built America, and unions built the middle class. I'm proud to have been the first president to walk a picket line. Look at their Project 2025. Want to do away with the Department of Education. Well, during the pandemic, I helped states and cities get their schools back open, and we gave public school teachers a raise. Donald Trump calls America a failing nation. Think about this. He publicly says to the whole world, I'm going to say something outrageous. I know more foreign leaders by their first names and know them well than anybody alive, just because I'm so damn old. Think of the message he sends around the world when he talks about America being a failing nation. He says we're losing. He's the loser. He's dead wrong. America's winning, and the world's better off for it. America's more prosperous, and Americans are safer today than under Donald Trump. Trump continues to lie about crime in America. Like everything else. Guess what? On his watch, the murder rate went up 30%, the biggest increase in history. Meanwhile, we made the largest investment, Kamala and I, in public safety ever. Now, the murder rate is falling faster than any time in history. Violent crime has dropped to the lowest level in more than 50 years. And crime will keep coming down when we put a prosecutor in the Oval Office instead of a convicted felon. It's hard. I never thought I'd stand before a crowd of Democrats and refer to a president as a liar so many times. No, I'm not trying to be funny. It's sad. Trump continues to lie about the border. Here's what he won't tell you. Trump killed the strongest bipartisan border deal in the history of the United States. We negotiated with the Senate Republicans. It took 4 weeks. Once it passed, and they acknowledged those expansive border change in American history, he called senators to say, don't support the bipartisan bill, because he said it would help me politically and hurt him politically. My God. Typically Trump, once again, putting himself first and America last. Then I had to take executive action. The result of the executive action I took, border encounters have dropped over 50%. In fact, there are fewer border crossings today than when Donald Trump left office. And unlike Trump, we will not demonize immigrants, saying they're the poison of blood of America, poison the blood of our country. Tom and I are committed to strengthening legal immigration, including protecting dreamers and more. And here's what else I believe in. Protecting your freedom to vote, your freedom to love who you love, and your freedom to choose. In its decision overturning Roe v. Wade, as you heard earlier tonight, the United States Supreme Court majority wrote the following, quote, women are now without electoral or political power. MAGA Republicans found out the power of women in 2022, and Donald Trump is going to find out the power of women in 2024. Selecting Kamala was the very first decision I made when I became our nominee. And it was the best decision I made my whole career. She'll be a president we can all be proud of. And she will be a historic president who puts her stamp on America's future. This will be the first presidential election since January 6th. On that day, we almost lost everything about who we are as a country. And that threat, this is not hyperbole, that threat is still very much alive. Donald Trump says he will refuse to accept the election result if he loses again. He's promising a bloodbath if he loses, in his words. And that he'll be a dictator on day one, in his own words. By the way, this sucker means it. Anybody else said that in the past, you'd think he was crazy. He is crazy, but you'd think it was an exaggeration, but he means it. We can't let that happen. All of us carry a special obligation. Independents, Republicans, Democrats. We saved democracy in 2020, and now we must save it again in 2024. And the power is literally in your hands. History is in your hands. Nowhere else in the world could a kid with a stutter and modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware grow up to sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. That's because America is, and always has been, a nation of possibilities. Kamala and Tim understand that this nation must continue to be a place of possibilities, not just for the few of us, but for all of us. I promise I'll be the best volunteer
Harrison waltz as Cam never ever seen. For me and my family, there's a song that means a lot to us, that captures the best of who we are as a nation. The song is called American Anthem. There's one verse that stands out, and I can't sing worth a damn, so I'm not going to try. I'll just quote it. The work and prayers of centuries have brought us to this day. What shall our legacy be? What will our children say? Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. I made a lot of mistakes in my career, but I gave my best to you. For 50 years, like many of you, I've given my heart and soul to our nation. And I've been blessed a million times in return for the support of the American people. I've either been too young to be in the Senate because I wasn't 30 yet, and too old to stay as president. But I hope you know how grateful I am to all of you. I can honestly say, and I mean this from the bottom, give you my word as a Biden, I can honestly say I'm more optimistic about the future than I was when I was elected as a 29-year-old United States Senator. I mean it. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's nothing we cannot do when we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
And there you go. There are a couple of things that I didn't put in, and that is because I like, that part, that frivolous part that he had about to end the war or whatever. No, I'm not gonna put that in there because he's not doing it the right way. And there's one other thing that I didn't put in there as well. Anyway, let's see. I'm not even going to go there. It's so powerful. Love it. So did you like it, Bridge? The way I kind of concentrated 52 minutes into 11 minutes? If you like it, that means it's good. Paul Fleming says the $13 billion that Elon Musk borrowed to buy Twitter has turned into the worst merger finance deal for the bank since 2008 financial crisis. Hovland Bank's loan books, heavy loans hung. Exactly. Great job, Egberto. Oh, thank you, Yvette. Coming from you, that means everything, my beautiful lady in Atlanta, Georgia. All right, let's see. Steigen Birkin Greek, welcome aboard. Hey, I know what you're saying. Let me read what Steigen said because I want to address that. I think it is dangerous for the party to be talking about inflation. It is up 20% since 2022. We all see it and we know it because of corporate greed, but much of America doesn't understand that. But you know what they would understand? If instead of taking it as, there are two ways to argue a point. We can say, we've got inflation down, but remember it was caused by corporate greed. That's one way to say it. The other way to say it is, we brought Trump's inflation down. The policies that we had to clean up from Trump caused inflation. You want inflation again, you elect Trump. You get it? One is an active statement. The other one is a passive statement. One is saying, I know it looks bad, but the other one is to talk about it in the realm that you're cleaning up Trump's mess. And if you make the mistake and elect Trump again, you will get the same conditions that created inflation in the first place. So you go ahead and say, if you want inflation back, elect Trump. If you want high inflation that we had to clean up, elect Trump. That is the way that has to be handled, Steigenberg, because it is the truth. And I can enumerate why Trump is responsible for our inflation. He gave the corporations an excuse to create inflation because, again, they needed an excuse for the inflation, and guess who gave it to them? Trump gave them the excuse they needed to create inflation. Very much important for us to understand. Anyway, we're coming close to the end of the show. I hope you guys enjoyed the little synopsis of the DNC that I gave you today. I will likely have it again tomorrow, I hope. It's tough because they've been going late and I have to prepare my KPFT show and I need to get at least 3 hours of sleep, you know. Last night I got, let's see what my Fitbit says. Last night, it is crazy. It is crazy. Last night I got 3 hours and 24 minutes. Let's see what I got. The day before I got 3 hours and 47 minutes. But guess what I got on Sunday? Sunday I got 7 hours. But then Friday I got 5 hours. And Thursday I got 4 hours. So again, we're gonna do it. But you know why I rushed and did this also? Bridge MCP was like, "Hey, Berto, I see you got a lot of videos to do." She was just loving that convention. She was just loving that convention, weren't you, Bridge? Lee Grant says reparations are extremely tricky. Would Kamala get or pay reparations? No. Kamala, look, let's get something straight here, right? All black people that you know, whether they are blue black, my dark black, or Norman Reynolds lighter shade black, we all have some what is it that what we have? We all have a certain degree of the master's genes, okay? Because the master was a fanatical rapist for many reasons. One for pleasure, and the other one to generate more slaves. Those are the people that we're supposed to look and say, these are the great men who created the country. When if you take a look at Brazilian blood, Panamanian blood, Jamaican blood, I'm talking about the people that present as black, like myself or Norman or any other black person in here, or my sister Yvette Avery Herod. We all present as black. We all have different levels of the master's gene set, right? Because, like I said, it was an evil time, the time that everybody wants us to glorify as being great. We are the product, all of the people that were here, not the are victims of what the master used to do: rape, pillage, and all of that. But you want us to sit back and then say, all was nice and great. Glory, glory, hallelujah. I can speak to these things honestly because I leave it aside from my reality. My reality is me and the love that I can give to the rest of the world. I should have included Paul Fleming in there as well. All right. So, so when it comes to reparations, let me tell you what I feel. There's a movement in America called ADOS, African Descendants of Slaves. And they like to discriminate against those of us that are not black Americans, meaning Norman doesn't qualify, I don't qualify, Kamala sort of qualifies because she was born here. It's a ridiculous, ridiculous concept. Reparations is due anybody with melanin, no matter where you are. But we'll take that another. What form it takes is a different story. Anyway, folks, please, 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 please support the program however you can. Please go ahead and consider becoming a subscriber to our newsletter. Look, all of you that are in this house right now, in the chat right now, or listening on Twitter or wherever, could you please, if you have the wherewithal, say, I can do a coffee a month to join the newsletter. I want Egberto's newsletter to be successful so that so that he can maybe get a little bit more sleep. Maybe. Michael's like, Egberto, you're counting your sleep. Man, I don't even know what to say about. You're running a deficit that you'll never pay off. Here, actually, I am going to pay off my deficit. Breach, I'm low on funds, high on love. Breach, I don't want folks given that are low on funds. When you're low on funds, there are a lot of folks who can say, I want to support the truth. Thank you, Breach. I love you. Thank you for your super chat. A lot of folks can say, I can support that newsletter. So go to politicsandright.com/newsletter for those who can. And please consider becoming a subscriber of our newsletter. politicsandright.com/newsletter. Look, I love you, Breach. Love you, Lee Grant, for those super chats today. We can't do this without the support. We don't bill, right? We work on folks saying, we want you to continue doing what you do, because it's important work. And especially now, it's going to be even that much more important. But anyway, I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.